Moral principle number one. It is proper for every mother to treat her grown post-pubescent son in the same way that Mary of the Bible treated Jesus. Can anyone argue with this? And why is this the moral principle? Because doing opposite than this, in any circumstance, reasonably is offensive to what God gave man, and that is the male ego that surrounds the authority that we were given to be leaders, deciders. And what is the way that Mary treated Jesus in the Bible? Multiple times. She's depicted as being respectful of him, respectful of his authority, and everyone, or most people, kind of get it a little bit out of context. They say, oh, well, he was a special case, right? He was Jesus. I say, no, that's not the point. He wasn't Jesus until after he was crucified, in a sense. Before he was crucified, he was a special guy, but he was modeling not something extraordinary that was only special for him. He wasn't saying, oh, my mom treats me pretty good, but your mom shouldn't treat you that way. That was never the point. They were modeling correct parental relatability that is meant as a template and a copy for you. Let's turn to 1 Timothy 3 very quickly. We find that in 1 Timothy 3 verse 11, it is stated that in the same way as a particular group, deacons are mentioned above, women are, in our new society that we're creating, our new community, our new way of life, so to speak, that was the Christian way of life at that point, having its beginnings, women are to be worthy of respect. Number one. Number two, not malicious talkers. And in other translations, this is rendered as they are not to be slanderers. Now, what is malicious talking? That's any kind of speaking that has a negative consequential effect downstream, that it is injurious to someone in some way. This, in essence, is what slander is. And let me be clear about what slander and defamation really are. See, in American case law, for the last 100 years, 70 years in particular, things kind of took a hard turn. And people started conflating the definition of what slander is and what defamation is. I'll tell you something very interesting. When you go back and read some of the stuff that's over 100 years old, then you get the real insight into what defamation and slander really are. See, the false definition and the false understanding is that, oh, well, slander and defamation are false words spoken about somebody, right? Which tend to hurt their reputation or their and hurt them in a kind of way. No, that's wrong. The proper, old school, and technically correct definition of slander or defamation is simply the taking of one's reputation. Period. That's it. It's the same as gossip. Whether it is true or whether it is not true, it doesn't matter. You are not allowed to speak things that, because of your having spoken it, does cause the injury, whereas if you had not said it, that injury would not have happened to that person's reputation. That is a sin. So, number 2, malicious talking. And number 3, but they are to be temperate. Of course, we understand in English what the word temperance means and what it means to be temperate in one's behavior and conduct. It means not extreme, not pushing to the farthest escalation that one can consider. It's, if you have 4 options, each ranging in severity and strength from minimal through moderate and up to maximal, living by order of God to be temperate means you're commanded always to stay within the closer nexus of more conservatively affecting things, and to never do things that are extreme. And the last one is trustworthiness. This is the most important thing. A woman who cannot be trusted is worth the same value as toilet paper. It is nothing. Do you know what trust is? And how trust is created, how it is cultivated legitimately within the relationship that you have with another person over time? Do you know how carefully people work to cultivate it and how carefully they preserve, the amount of energy it takes to preserve it? It is everything. A single thing that you do, if it has the effect of compromising one's ability to trust you because of something you did, this is a grave sin. So for comparative purposes, let us just simply see. With respect to this mother of mine, Barbara, are the things she's doing worthy of respect? Not reasonably so. No way. Did she refrain from ever being a malicious talker? Or did she go ahead and slander her own son by speaking any words ever to any other living, breathing humans ever that cause his reputation to become lowered? So if you ever did, you're guilty of sin, hellfire for you. But were her actions temperate? Well, when my grandfather was beating my grandmother, was she temperate then? Oh yeah, we didn't do extreme things like call the police. Good, for comparative purposes. That's the order. You have no moral ability to ever do anything but remain temperate. So, was the code of temperance and the standard of temperance broken in how she chose to deal with me? Very obviously, reasonably so. Because she went the farthest way you can go, which is the sickness, and you're never allowed to do that. This ordinance of temperance was placed on women on purpose. Why? To prevent you from doing stupid things, because you can't see correctly. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly of all, trustworthiness. You think when I give you the keys to my house, on your promise that you will never use them in a way that's against my desires and my wishes, you then use my own tools against me? Is this trustworthy? You could never have my trust again in this entire lifetime without the most extreme atonement you could possibly imagine. In every single commandment, this woman has broken the orders of 1 Timothy 3, verse 11. Each one of those just stated also, obviously, are representations of the respective moral principles that are back of them. So it could easily be written as moral principle number 2. It is proper for women to strictly remain temperate throughout the course of their lives in response to this or that situation which may come up. For everything that happens in this life is essentially a test, whether by God or of the devil. Moral principle number 3. Woman is not to slander any others, generally. as an extended, sort of increased degree, as to say, surely let alone her own son. Where if you did that, it's even worse. Moral principle number 4. Women are never to act in such a way as to cause others or allow others to lose trust in them. For that surely is missing the mark by a real great deal. From Proverbs 14. The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one instead tears hers down. Has my mother appeared to be wise? Has she been acting in a way such as to build her house? Or has she been acting in a manner such as to, practically speaking, always be tearing it down? Thus, moral principle number 5. Woman is never to act in such a way Woman is never to act in such a way as to bring a tearing down upon her own household, but is only to build constructively. Makes sense, doesn't it? And in Proverbs 27, we're reminded, here in the middle of the screen, a continual dripping on a rainy day, and a quarrelsome wife, but in other translations, good ones too, which I'll bring up in just a moment, in fact, to better contextualize this. Here we go. A constant dripping on a rainy day and a contentious woman are just alike. Restraining her is like restraining the wind, or like grasping oil with one's right hand. Is impossible. Don't be a contentious woman. You know what contentious means? It means you contend. It means you try to face off and challenge. You're not allowed to challenge. You get it? Because you're about as pleasant as a constant dripping on a damn rainy day. God doesn't honor you when you are like this. Get it? Thus, moral principle number 6. Women, you do not contend. That goes double. That's certainly so against those who are of any relative position of authority. For furthermore, another great principle could be established, also taken from Proverbs. This one's very important and also key to note. Almost all translations that I find of this particular passage are not good translations, but I'll show you the real exact right way it's supposed to be stated for the proper reading and interpretation. I'll write it in right here. It is a gracious woman that is glorified, or that attains honor, but it is ruthless men who reap and who obtain riches. Think about this. Two opposite genders, yin and yang, two opposite modes of being that are correct in order to succeed in this realm. What works for the man to win, you wear the man's behavior as a woman, you don't win. Same for the other way. What works as a woman that exalts her in her nature to bring her high. A man tries the same thing. That's a shame. It brings him down. Don't cross your energies. Therefore, by this, women are to be gracious and not ruthless. Let's compare. Have the actions of my mother recently appeared to be fully gracious, or have they appeared to be as if ruthless? Sick. For such sickness, cannot be contained. And that's not a compliment. And just to shoot back real quick to 1 Timothy 3, one other thing I haven't covered, this is important. There's two ways you can command a group of people to cause it to be such that the women of that group are shown respect. Number one is to simply command everybody else, hey, you all, you must respect women. Period. That could be one naive attempt by a lawgiver to cause it to be such that, as the practical end result, is that a stream of essential reverence or respect moves towards women. But it doesn't work this way. To command that part of the dynamic will not work. So what is the law? It doesn't command. There's not a command for men to be respectful of women as a force play, so to speak. That is, regardless of whether or not they're actually deserving of it. No. Instead, it is women who are commanded to do the things, to actively take responsibility for being the thing that naturally has you become worthy of getting respect. That shifts the responsibility profile away from others. Others are never, they don't have to respect you. You must be respectable. You see the difference? Therefore, moral principle number 8, do not do those things which naturally block you from being honored and glorified properly, aka, quote unquote, respected. Although the translations, and language is a funny thing, and there's also certain reasons that I don't love to use that word respect for women, because it doesn't energetically zing in the way, in the framework, the way the other language words would for those respective things, because respect is a different energetic programming. Something's not quite right with that word, so there's conceivably a better way to translate that prior sentence that we drew from there. Indeed. Titus 2 teaches that likewise, in our new civilization, in our new community, in our new society, where our moral doctrine is commanded to teach the older women, what will the older women be taught how to relate to other people in what mode? To be like the pesky stepmother types, always running around like little scorpions or snakes, No. In our perfect society, the old women are taught to be reverent in the way they live. Reverent. Period. Therefore, moral principle number 9. In order to counteract what would be the wrong tendency for women as they grow older to lose their humility and their reverence, and as they grow older to then become arrogant. No, you're forbidden. It's the opposite. Older women are not to lose their reverence, their reverent nature, and are not to cease treating others within the society all throughout in a reverent way, but you're to remain just as humble as they were when they were still young women. And my God, if you don't really get it, then you need to look at 1 Timothy 2, where it was very, very clearly stated as far as what they want, what the elders and the moral authorities want for the women, is that a woman should learn, all women, that's younger and older, exactly what I just said in the prior point. They should learn in quietness and full submission. Full submission. The word full is used for a reason. It's not submission sometimes, but If it's certain males or certain people, then there's an exception. Then we will change it. Then the woman will be bossy. No. A woman should learn, all women, in quietness and submission, that is, without exception. Without exception. Oh, surely that only means wives only to their husbands, right? No, I told you yesterday there's 3 men for sure that woman is subscribed to over the course of her life, and the principle holds even in Christianity, as it's represented here in the next verse, number 12. It says, I do not permit a woman, any woman, ever, to teach or to assume authority ever, ever, ever over any man. Ever, ever, ever. Do you fucking get it now? Huh? Wake up, Earth. Wake up, America. Wake up, everybody living falsely in the inverted ways. You're all screwing it up with your arrogance, your false illusionary belief that you think you know what you're doing ever. It was forbidden for you to teach anything ever because you don't have a damn clue. And it was known from the beginning. Your job is not to exert authority. Your job is to comfort. Your job is to assist and help us rule, while we chill with you to feel better, while you feel good too because you get to hang with us. It's the only thing you're good for, and live it right so that you can actually enjoy it properly instead of sabotaging yourselves like idiots. You ruin their own joy of life, the most precious fruit. She must be quiet. What's the only exception to this? I told you. When there's a child who's growing up, mommy's the teacher, daddy instructs, or daddy commands. Exactly right. A child is not a man. Your child you can teach. A man you can't teach. It's forbidden. I'm a fucking man, idiot. You don't come and teach me nothing. That's why your attempts to teach don't fucking work. Because you're trying something that God told you is outside of the design of how He made the universe. But you keep trying to do it anyway because you're blind and naive. Who the hell, man, would ever want to be dared to be fucking spoken down to by you? Or any woman? It never works. In any situation, ever. No one will sit there and fucking go, oh what, baby? You told me that. Oh, boo, 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 ooh. And stick their face in the fucking dirt like a fucking sap. It never will work, ever. Disgusting to even dream you think you can be there where one day you're sitting like, you're the woman with the arms crossed? Fucking, and I showed him. Kill yourselves. Moral principle number 10. You women never exert, even dream to exert authority over any man, ever. All men are as like Greek gods, like titans who came down from a stratus way above you. And you just sit and chill and go, wow, a lot of amazing gods are walking around today around us. Oh, that's perfect. Now you fucking got it. Now we have paradise on earth. Beautiful. That's how it's supposed to work. The Japanese got it right. Everybody knows traditional Japanese society was so stacked in its gender roles, really, that if you extend the relative civilizations we have on Earth out onto today, out of every group that could be considered even Western or even quasi-Westernized today, the Japanese by far preserve the highest degree of that dynamic where it's known in that society. Women are pretty much ubiquitously across the board. It's just understood. Like, yeah, we're kind of second-class citizens. But they're not protesting in giant feminist waves everywhere. No, they like it. It works. They're happy. They all treat men like all men are gods or just higher tier people of high authority that you sit there and just chill with and fucking honor, like, without question. You never disparage a man, let alone someone you're around. It's ugly and disgusting, and God told you to get rid of that shit. And thus, for illustrative and comparative purposes, we find there's this woman near me named Barbara. Did she relegate herself to her correct role as a woman and sit and keep her head down and treat me the way Mary treated Jesus, which was to say, you're a guy and you're the smart guy and you have studied the Torah and the law and the Bible, so I come to you to find out what the hell to do. Who comes to who to find out what to do? It's that easy. Should have been obvious to everybody all along. And you have to go through making all these damn videos to wake people up? Well, you people don't have any clue to begin with? You need me to show up here, huh? All right. Then I will. Better for you, I guess. It's a mitzvah, so to speak, right? All right. Let's make sure there's fruit from this, though. Don't disappoint me. So there you are. 10 moral principles on how mothers and women are to conduct themselves in this world in a way that is morally correct. What is morals? Don't get it wrong. Living correct is nothing more, is little more than preventing your offending someone else. These are moral principles because violating these necessarily causes somebody else to go, hey, what the fuck, huh? That's what sin is. Making anybody else go, what the hell did you just do, damn it? And that's what's not allowed. Here you go, the law. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. It's very clear, and there's only one thing that they want you to know. That God is the head of Christ, that Christ is the head of every man, all of mankind, and that the head of every woman is man. Do you understand that tiered relationship exactly as it was described to you before? Every man. Start honoring men correctly. The man is the head of the woman. Always. The man being the head means that he's the one who does the thinking. You don't do my thinking for me. You understand? It's a violation of God to even attempt to do that, to think you can dream to do that. It's the blind leading people who can perfectly see. It's fucking insulting and stupid.